I had a call with Dream after my last video debunking his responses using tick mechanics. And there's good news and bad news depending on what you want to hear. In case you haven't been following along, Dream was recently accused of cheating in the Parkour Warrior event of the Minecraft Championships 11 in 2020. Minecraft Championships, commonly known for short as MCC, is the biggest Minecraft creator event and is run by Nox Crew. They're live events where 40 large Minecraft creators battle it out in teams of 4 across 8 events to find out which creators are the best and which team will take home the victory. While this event has no cash reward other than a custom stamped coin, it is watched by millions of fans, and performing well stands to gain you thousands of additional fans and praise for being better than the other creators, which is why a lot of people care if Dream cheated during one or more of its events to unfairly place him above other creators. Dream has been accused of using an autojump parkour hack. This is a hack that jumps for you at just the right time as you walk off an edge of a block, giving you a significant advantage that prevents you from failing the timing of jumps. I'll put a list of resources in the description for you to learn more about the accusations and the evidence if you're interested. Now, I know this video is going to annoy a lot of people on both sides of the matter. I'm going to have Dream haters telling me off for being too nice to him, and Dream stans attacking me for going against their Lord and Savior. But I don't care. I think that some people are way too polarized and they're the ones with the loudest voices. I don't really have a side. A lot of people don't, but they just keep quiet. I want to present the evidence and say what I think is right. I don't hate Dream, I don't want to see bad things happen to him, but I also don't blindly follow him and trust everything he says. So, what did Dream have to say about my last video? Did he disagree with any of my points? No, actually, he heard me out and agreed with me that none of what he said disproved that he cheated. So, what did he say then? Well, he instead tried to justify why he said things, and explained why he thinks he had a good reason for saying everything. I don't have time to go over all of it in detail, but it's on screen now. With the crouching, he said he was talking generally about the parkour course as a whole and not just the salmon letter section, even though he was doing them in the background while he was explaining it. For the slime jump, he simply misremembered which hoop it happened on, and the 50 jumps video was to prove that he could complete visual jumps with high consistency in order to tackle the claims people were making, implying that all the jumps were inhumanly hard, when in reality it's only the non-visual ones that are important. It's okay if that didn't make sense, as you would have needed to see the video to understand what he was responding to. All these justifications do make logical sense and are consistent with innocence, so it's a good look for him. However, unfortunately, they are equally consistent with guilt, because either way he would have been trying to defend himself and would be just as likely to say the same kinds of things to try to clear his name. So while I'm glad to see him make some good responses, this still does not disprove the claims. So the big question now is, after having a call with Dream and hearing him out, do I still think he cheated? To which the answer is yes, even more so, because he gave 2 brand new responses to 2 of the pieces of evidence I showed him, and yet again, they do not hold up. And additionally, me and the parkourist have collected a lot more evidence. Let's discuss all of this, and then after, I'll share my opinion on the whole matter, and finally answer some FAQ from my last video. I guess he missed the Spacebar is the name given to a clip found by the parkourist Sociopac, who is the author of the first analysis document which was featured in Carl Jobst's video. This clip comes from Dream's 2023 world record attempt stream, at a time when he was completing a section called the Swapsicles. For one of the jumps though, this happens. He messes it up. But notice what we don't see. We don't see him jump. If he was trying to make the jump here, then he should have still pressed space and actually tried to jump, so why don't we see him jump? If it were just a mistake in aim, then we'd expect to see this, which is what happens in MCC 11. He again messes up the aim and turns too soon, just like before, and therefore hits the fence. But he at least still jumps here. The difference between these 2 clips is that in one case, he doesn't quite run off the edge, but here he does. And if he were using an auto jump hack, it would only trigger as he tried to run off of an edge. So it would trigger here, but not here. Exactly what we see. I showed Dream this clip and what happened. Well, after hesitating for an extended period of time, he told me that sometimes he senses that the tick alignment is off, and therefore he decides not to jump to avoid messing it up. While this is a real thing that parkourers sometimes do, it does not apply here at all. So the general idea is that Minecraft processes everything in steps called ticks, and you have to jump within the correct tick. But the tick alignment itself is random, so in order to make the jump more reliably, you want to use what's known as a visual cue in order to be able to see where the alignment is so you know when to jump. But just look at how fast it all happens. That's not enough time to even sense the tick alignment from a visual cue, or for him to even realize that he hadn't quite run off the edge. And this is coming from what he told me about his reaction time. But not only that, because if you look at his mouse motion, it's the exact same flick he does for every single jump in order to turn around the fence. So he very clearly was actually trying to jump here. So this doesn't appear to be a valid explanation. While his explanation seems poor, a bad defense alone isn't evidence of guilt. And in this case, the much more reasonable explanation is that he simply missed the spacebar. It was a long stream, so a one-off case like this isn't very conclusive on its own. But it doesn't look great, and it adds yet another inconsistent defense and piece of evidence to the growing pile. Speaking of times when he should jump, but he doesn't, let's look at a section known as the fishbones. Carl Jobst presented a strange wiggling phenomenon he does in this section. This is very suspicious, because in all of these wiggles, he clearly wants to jump here, but he doesn't, and instead he sways side to side. This is a known thing that is commonly seen in autojump hackers when they get lazy. Let me show you exactly why. Here I have MedialCline installed, and a keybinds mod. As you can see, I am manually jumping. But watch what happens if I enable the Parkour module. Now, every time I run off an edge, I automatically jump, and I am not pressing the spacebar. Here I have the same kind of setup as the fishbones. Normally, I'll run up here, and then I'll curve around here, hit this edge, and automatically jump, causing me to complete the jump. But what happens if I don't quite reach the edge? Well, I go here, I start turning to the side, but if I don't turn far enough, I don't jump. And then I'll try to curve around the pane and turn to the other side, and then try to hit it on that edge. But if you don't hit that edge, what happens? You do the same. You curve all the way back. And I can say, just trying this myself, the wiggles come completely naturally. I'm trying to hit this edge, but I don't quite make it, so I switch to the other direction. Here's another example. Boom. And if you've been doing this for hours, then it becomes a habit that's very easy to fall into. But if you are a legitimate player, on the other hand, you would look to the side and then press space to jump when you think you're about to hit the edge. And sometimes you'll jump early, sometimes you'll jump late and fall off. But you wouldn't normally turn to the side without trying to jump at all. And then sway to the other side, and then not jump until eventually you hit the edge and then you just jump. That is auto-jump behavior. So how did Dream try to even explain this? Well, he posted a video called Fishbones How To, trying to explain why he does it like that.
Realized I didn't talk about the wiggle thing, so I just want to talk about that. So, if I find myself in a scenario where I over-jumped or under-jumped, I land here, there'd be some wiggling to get myself to the middle, make sure I'm in the middle, and then go.
But look at the wiggles he recreates. In these ones, he's strafing from side to side, then stopping in the middle, once aligned, and then he jumps. But if we actually look at the wiggles, he sways from side to side with his mouse until he reaches one of the edges, and then jumps. He doesn't strafe to the middle, and he also doesn't even stop for a second when he reaches the middle, like in his demonstration. Carl also points out that the direction he looks to when making the jumps is completely different from how he normally does them.
Dream claims that he looks to the left while strafing to the left. However, this is not what he does at all. This explanation seems to be plucked out of thin air, and doesn't reflect his runs in any way, shape, or form. Clearly, he does not look to the left when jumping around to the left. He looks to the right, so his entire premise is fabricated. He also tried to debunk the idea that his wriggles were evidence of him using a macro, claiming that he did the wriggles on purpose. Absolutely everything about this video and explanation completely contradicts his playstyle and what he was actually doing. Once again, it shows that Dream will essentially say random things to explain his unrealistic playstyle, even if it has no connection to reality.
Carl also mentions how his timing accuracy is perfect and he never falls once.
performing 8 hours of standard attempts in a row on stream while still retaining a 100% success rate.
While I doubt Carl watched all 8 hours without simply just skimming through to the fishbone sections, and he obviously wasn't doing the fishbones most of the time during those streams, the point still stands. In a sample taken from the second half of one stream, there's already a cumulative 3 minutes of attempt after attempt, and not a single failure is due to timing, only aim. So, what did Dream have to say when asked about the fishbones and Carl's argument? In the call, I asked him for more info about why he does the jumps with a different technique in 2023, and how he was able to do it so consistently. And he blamed it on his hand placement and keybinds. His explanation in the call was extremely confusing and fast, and I had trouble even understanding it, so I asked him for clarification, and he confirmed it. He told me that he used to press W with his index finger.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the...
And I have to tell you that, yeah, this is true. Yes, Dream has been pressing W with his index finger ever since before the DeQuavis duel.
And that wraps it up for today. Winner of the Skills Challenge is DeQuavis. Who saw that coming?
What?
And the effect of this is that it becomes very difficult to strafe right. He had to quickly switch from W to D if he wished to strafe right, making it practically unusable. If we go through the fishbones footage from the 2023 streams, this is true. We see him strafe to the left, but never to the right, only turning in that direction. This is further confirmed in his handcam stream.
And I actually do it differently depending on which side of the wall I'm on. And then on this side, I don't use strafe keys. This side, I use strafe keys. This side, I don't use strafe keys.
Dream claimed that his hand placement and setup caused a positive difference in his consistency for the fishbones. So do we finally have an explanation for why he did the fishbones differently in 2023 and how he was so consistent? What? Not at all. I mean, he went out of his way to explain that the way he does the pain jumps on the fishbones is by trying to land in the middle by turning midair, but then sometimes he lands off center and strafes to the middle, in both directions, not just to the left. And to be clear, he didn't just say that's the way he does it now, he said that's why he does the wiggles, including back then.
So that's the wiggle. It's just me making sure that it's going to be an easy one-tick jump.
So if he's unable to strafe to the right, it should actually negatively impact his consistency, as he would struggle to make adjustments to the right. And how does any of this actually explain why he does the wiggles? The wiggles are completely done with the mouse, moving it left and right, not strafing at all, as he claims. So keybinds seem like they should be irrelevant here. But this also misses the fact that making these jumps consistently is all about timing. Jumping at the right moment, and regardless of his keybinds and hand placement, he still has jump as the spacebar, and he's still hitting it with his thumb. So it doesn't make sense that this change would have any impact on timing or jump consistency at all. So yet again, none of his explanations for the fishbones or the wiggles seem to make any sense at all. So in reality, the fact that he did attempt after attempt without falling once comes down to his jump timing accuracy. So how realistic is it that he was able to complete all of those attempts without slipping off once? While I can't give you exact numbers because the jumps are visual and difficult to quantify, I can tell you that Carl and several other parkourists don't think this is very realistic at all. So let's talk about what his accuracy actually looks like elsewhere when it comes to non-visual jumps, which are fundamentally random for reasons I explained in my last video. Here's a graph showing the portion of non-visual jumps Dream made over time throughout Parkour Warrior, with 95% confidence intervals. This data has been collected and verified by multiple parkour professionals, and there's a link in the description to where you can see it for yourself. He suddenly goes from a casual level to a professional level in just 2 weeks before hitting 100%. This just seems absurd. While the progression here might look linear, it isn't at all, as the percentage of successful jumps you can make does not correlate linearly with skill. There's an absolutely massive difference between the 5% difference from, say, 55 to 60 versus 95 to 100%. I mean, 95% to 100% is the difference from making about 20 jumps on average before you fall to infinity where you never fall. So while this jump might look small when plotted like this, smaller jumps become much more significant towards the higher end, and this is all due to the law of diminishing returns. As you get better and better, your consistency asymptotically approaches 100%, but it never quite makes it. And that's why this massive jump in consistency is not something you would typically see in 2 weeks without cheating. I said in my last video he makes all 67 jumps in MCC 11, which, as many of you pointed out, is 6, 7, oh my. But that was because 2 of the jumps were still uncertain. But thanks to a little help from MCV, the computer vision software I developed to help the parkourist reconstruct position and rotation from just a screenshot, we were able to confirm the last 2 unsure jumps as tick perfect. So now, 6, 7 plus 2 equals 69. Are you kidding me? Which is insane, because even with the incredible accuracy of 95%, you'd only have a 3% chance to make all of them. Okay, before we jump to conclusions, let's rule out some other possibilities for what might be going on here, and why the data might look like this. Well, what if the course was getting easier and easier, so he made more jumps? Well, actually, it's the exact opposite. Parkour Warrior was made progressively harder and harder by Nox Crew. This was mainly because Dream was doing so well at it. So much so that they eventually staged blowing up the entire map and ended up removing the event after MCC 11 and replacing it with Parkour Tag in MCC 12. Because as I've heard, other competitors were struggling so hard due to the increased difficulty that they weren't even having fun anymore. And here we're only measuring non-visual jumps, which are random for reasons I've explained before. For these jumps, it's simply a matter of pressing forward and then waiting for a certain delay before pressing space. It's purely about timing, which is independent from the course itself. Meaning that even if the difficulty of the course was getting easier, you wouldn't expect to see much difference at all. I don't have the time or skill to delve into the exact probabilities and make a full statistical report of just how unlikely it was that Dream made all of these jumps. But guess what? The Parkourist community is working on one. You can join their Discord if you want in order to help out and see the data they've collected for yourself. The link is in the description. But I mean, do we really need to have a repeat of last time? Need I remind you that the last time Dream got incredibly lucky, it turned out he did have a mod on, which at first he denied. Later, he hired an astrophysicist to try to prove it, but then half a year later, he eventually confessed to it, but claimed it was an accident and that it was accidentally left on from Manhunt. By this point, you've probably already seen enough to think that he cheated. Beating a dead horse, you say? Nah, he doesn't look that dead. He's probably just sleeping. That was just the warm-up. Now it's time to nuke this coughing baby with a hydrogen bomb. Okay, so let's actually have a look at the 10% of jumps that he fails in MCC 10. In the first one, we see him run off in this trapdoor section. I mean, nothing suspicious, right? It was just a simple mistake.
I'm gonna collect this up. Okay, got my 14 obsidian. And now, oh! Whoopsie daisy. I wasn't meant to do that. Only joking, I wasn't meant to do that, actually. Oh no. Is it seriously raining? Oh man, it just stopped raining.
I mean, the fact that he runs off means he couldn't have had a hack on here. So I originally thought it indicated he must not be hacking at all. Because if you had the hack on, then wouldn't you just leave it on here to assist you? Well, that's what I originally thought until Draku showed me this. In Minecraft, you can walk around corners by hugging the wall, like this. However, as you can see, there's a tiny gap here. And guess what? Auto jump hacks will trigger when you hit this edge right there. Meaning, if you try to walk around the corner, you'll jump and fall. Meaning that if you want to turn this corner without suddenly falling, you have to turn it off. But then of course you'd be prone to walking off. And then 2 attempts later, he's realized he doesn't even need to turn the corner here at all, and he just says, watch this skip, and then makes this absolutely massive jump and avoids the problematic corners entirely.
They completely changed it. Watch this skip.
What?
Okay, well surely that's just a one-off, right? I mean, look at this cluster of early jumps here. Okay, let's look at them, and do you see it? You would have to walk over these glass panes. And if you had it on here, then it would trigger every time you tried to walk off of this edge. And if you have a block above your head, that would cause you to hit your head and fall. Yet again, another time where you have to turn it off to avoid this. And then of course, he does all of these jumps a tick too early, clearly not using the hack here. There is, however, one outlier I have to mention, which is this early jump here. He would have no reason for turning the hack off here, but he wouldn't have needed to. Take a look at how short this jump is. Notice how there's not much room on the other side for you to land on. If he were to jump at the last tick, he would risk overshooting, and it's not like auto jump prevents you from jumping manually. In fact, he also does this in other stages, with the difference being that these early jumps are visual. So during his practice, he likely made it a habit to jump slightly early for short jumps to avoid this and give him a cleaner transition to the next jump. That's a pretty good reason for why you would want to jump early here. So every one of his failed jumps in MCC 10 is extremely consistent with cheating. And it's not even isolated to MCC 10. As you might have already known from Ham Sandwich and Sandwich Lord, in MCC 11 there are only 2 occasions where he walks off an edge without jumping. And what do they both have in common? Just before them, he suddenly jumps at a random time that makes no legitimate sense unless you say he somehow accidentally hit or held the spacebar at the wrong time, which would provide you with a pretty good reason to want to turn it off if you are hacking, because you don't want the same thing to happen again. Speaking of which, let's briefly go over these 2 strange jumps. They're known as the slime jump and the wall jump, respectively. With the slime jump, he lands on this slime here, but he lands too close to the edge. In older versions of Minecraft, if you hit the edge of a slime block, or any block that causes an effect, such as soul sand and ice, it does not have its effect. So hitting the slime this close to the edge causes it to behave like a solid block, instead of causing you to bounce. This is exactly what we see here, except as soon as he hits the edge, he jumps. And if you had auto jump on, this is exactly what you'd see. The only way this can happen naturally is if you are holding space. But if you hold space on slime, it cancels your jump and you fall, which is why it would be a very bad thing to do here.
Why was he holding space on the slime? In quotation marks, a supposed parkour pro, he should know that you're not meant to hold space on slime.
Dream later tried to explain this away on stream, but his explanations didn't add up at all, and I debunked them in my last video. So again, the simplest explanation in his favor is that he yet again made another mistake and somehow accidentally hit or held the spacebar here. And the next time this happened, he didn't, and he walks off of the edge. Now let's look at the wall jump. In this clip, he starts parkouring like normal until he reaches this section, where he gets a little bit too close to this edge, accidentally walking off of it. And the moment that he touches this edge, he suddenly jumps, causing him to fall. And this time, Dream himself said one of the possible explanations was that maybe he simply accidentally hit space here.
Or I just fucking fat-fingered space. I mean, doesn't matter.
And then notably, on the very next attempt, he suddenly falls. It's also worth noting that this jump is a visual jump. It's not even included in the data because it's such an easy jump that to give him the benefit of the doubt, we make the assumption that he can make them 100% of the time, which is pretty true for top parkourists. It is not a hard jump at all, and yet the one jump he failed throughout all of MCC 11 was visual, and this fall was again at a time that he would have had a good reason to turn the hack off if he was using it, because he doesn't want the wall jump to happen again. Moving on from MCC 11 to his live streams in 2023, we actually see this happen again. Yes, that's right, there is a second wall jump, and this one is even worse than the first. This time, he's jumping past the walls. This increases speed and also makes these kinds of wall jumps less likely to happen because he's in the air and therefore isn't going to hit this edge. But for this jump, he's too far to the left and hits this wall. After he hits it, he immediately strafes to the right, crossing over this edge, and yet again he jumps and has to suddenly correct for it. And he can even be heard audibly freaking out over this. And then, on the very next jump, he crouches around the wall, and again, crouching explicitly prevents auto jump from triggering. And oh, what do you know, there's another one.
I'm on it.
Stop fucking shooting me! What the fuck is wrong with you? Chill!
It was a misinput. Calm down! You calm the fuck down!
Oh,
There was a misinput!
oh my fucking god.
The biohazard container. Mission failed.
God, this community is overreacting.
And while we're here, it's time to talk about another strange jump phenomenon, the trapdoor jumps. Specifically, I want you to look at whenever he's jumping to the right. Here, he jumps to the right, and when he lands, nothing happens. He doesn't jump. In fact, almost every time, this is the case. Dream does the course in almost exactly the same way every time, jumping here in the exact same way, and people have also noticed that sometimes he punches when he needs to toggle. So there is extremely little variation in his strategy. But just take a look at this run. He comes through the same section, but this time he jumps the moment he lands. Why would he jump here? Well, this landing is very precise, and if you overshoot and hit this edge here, it will trigger auto jump. I even tried it myself and find that quite often if you land too close to this edge, it will trigger. And take a look at this run. He jumps once here before having to suddenly stop and correct for this. And not just once, on the very next jump, it happens again, and he randomly jumps again. If this were just some strategy he were using, you'd expect him to do it every time, but that isn't the case at all. He only ever seems to randomly jump when he lands too close to the edge. And it's also worth noting that auto jump typically has a small tolerance. If you're close enough to the edge, it will just trigger and then continue to trigger so long as you are close enough to it. So this kind of thing only typically happens with auto jump. If we want to rule this off as legitimate, then yet again, we somehow have to say he randomly decided to selectively hold space. Not just once, but 3 times. And he doesn't do this for most of his other runs. This finally brings us to the strongest piece of evidence of all, the edge jump. In this clip, Dream is parkouring along and doing these jumps like normal, until this jump, where he crouches to the edge. Remember what I just said about auto jump tolerance. If you get too close to the edge, it will trigger. In order to run up for the jump, Dream simultaneously uncrouches and sprints forward. But what happens? Suddenly, he jumps early as soon as he uncrouches, and then he falls.
What a giveaway.
And this is exactly what happens if I use auto jump here. I crouch to the edge, uncrouch and sprint, and then suddenly I jump. If he were playing legitimately, then why would he jump here at all? Every other time, he runs all the way up to the edge before jumping. And before you try to write this off as just a one-off where he yet again hit the spacebar, get this, just a minute later, it happens again. He crouches to the edge and then uncrouches and sprints, but he also suddenly jumps, causing him to fall. I mean, come on, who would even do this? Why would you suddenly jump this early at the exact moment you uncrouch, and not just once, but on 2 different occasions? I'm not sure how you would even begin to justify this, and yet this is exactly what happens when you use the auto jump hack. Want to see another fun weird jump? Take a look here in MCC 11. It's a bit subtle, but do you see it? He accidentally clips this edge here, and then he jumps and has to correct to avoid falling. Honestly, I'm just impressed. I tried this myself and it's pretty hard to stick the landing. Oh, and listen to his reaction.
Here we go. Good.
And finally, I'd like to finish it off with 2 more clips where he jumps at times which make no sense and simply waste time. While these aren't really solid evidence on their own, I just think they're pretty funny to see at this point. In MCC 10, Dream slips and falls down to this lower pane here. And then, as he goes to walk off of this pane, he suddenly jumps off of it.
Why'd you jump? Come on, pal. What was that jump all about?
What do you mean? I just jumped.
This extra jump wastes time. As if he just walked off, he would have reset sooner. Exactly what happens with auto jump on. And here, he's trying to go down to this ladder, and the moment he walks off of this stair, he jumps for no reason and wastes time and almost messes up. Again, exactly what you'd expect to see if you were hacking. I mean, come on, mate. I mean, is it even at least realistic that Dream performed this well in MCC 10, MCC 11, and his world record attempt stream? No. While Dream is genuinely a good parkourist when it comes to non-technical parkour speedrunning, there's no doubting that. How good really is he? First of all, in his 2023 world record attempt stream, he eventually decided to practice the salmon ladders. But this time, we see that sometimes he fails, indicating he must be practicing it legitimately for this section with no hack, or at least with it disabled. And as we see, he fails his timing 5 times, only making 84% of the jumps. Sure, this was just a practice run, so it's possible it was subpar, but when we look at his jumps leading up to this, we see a whole page of tick-perfect jumps. So it seems strange that he would be doing so incredibly well just before this, only to fail 5 times when practicing the salmon ladders. Even in his cherry-picked handcam video, he still fails 3 times.
Thing Will Smith wondering.
And here, he even has very good rhythm and visual cues to help him, because he's chaining the jumps together relatively fast. But he wasn't in MCC 11. I explained just how incredibly important those factors are in my last video. They're the difference between being able to make the jump all of the time and only 90% of the time. So yes, even when he has a massive advantage and can cherry pick the best run, he still fails 3 times, but in MCC 10 and 11, he doesn't fail once. Oh, well, he was just a little bit rusty. He hasn't played for like 4 years. No, actually, Carl said it's only been 2.
But his personal best was achieved just over 2 years ago in November 2023.
And I got a parkourist to analyze his handcam video, and it was about 80 to 85%, but he's pretty sure it was 80%. And what about his handcam stream? As he personally let me know he did it in order to try to show he really is that good, and for some reason he sounded confident that he was gonna be just as good, if not better now, than he was in MCC, and he said that it would probably clear his name if we analysed it. And then he said if not, well then I'd have to think about what to say. So the parkourist collected the data, and what do you know, it's only like 83%. Putting all of this together, we see that Dream's legitimate skill appears to be within the 80 to 85% band, not the 90% or the 100% we see in MCC 10 or 11. As I said earlier, at a rate of 95%, he would have a 3% chance of making all 69 non-visual jumps in MCC 11. But at this rate, the chance of that perfect run in MCC 11 would be 0.001. I'm sure that there's a lot of uncertainty here, and these calculations are pretty crude and don't take into account a lot of factors, but it just seems absurd to me to think that he would get such a perfect run under pressure during a live event, given his skill surely has improved over the years, meaning it was even worse back then, and just given the sheer magnitude of just how much evidence there is that he cheated there. I want you to imagine 2 students. These students each take 2 tests. One is a paper test with supervision, and the other is an online test with no supervision. So you cannot cheat on the paper test, but you could cheat on the online test if you looked up the answers. If the first student makes 10 mistakes on the paper test and 10 mistakes online, then they just did average and nobody bats an eye. But if the other student absolutely fails the paper test and makes 20 mistakes on it, but makes no mistakes on the online test and passes with flying colors, doesn't that seem to indicate that they don't actually know the material and that they were likely just looking up the answers when they had the chance? Same total number of mistakes, but very different distributions. I've seen a lot of people saying that, oh, the parkourist argument against Dream is stupid because you're saying, oh, so every time he makes it, he's cheating, and then when he doesn't make it, he must have turned it off.
And that's also what happened. I hate people being like, oh, he fell and then therefore he toggled. It's like, what do you mean? You fall. That's what happens in parkour. You fall. Like, what do you mean?
Yes, I am saying that. And the reason I'm saying that is because of the distribution of mistakes. So let's look at Dreams. In this case, the paper test is aim and all of the jumps you have to turn the hack off for, and the online test is all of the jumps that you can easily use the macro for. If Dream doesn't cheat, we'd expect to see a pretty balanced distribution of mistakes. I mean, if you know the material, i.e. you're good at parkour, then you should expect that the medium doesn't really matter. Sure, writing on paper might be harder than typing on a keyboard, so maybe there's slight differences, but you should still know the material well enough that switching from online to paper doesn't make you suddenly fail at everything. So you should be roughly equally likely to make all mistakes, regardless of where they are. But as you've probably seen by now, that is not true of Dream at all. But I think the reality of this situation is even worse than you might expect. In MCC 9, Dream gets an accuracy of 67% of non-visual jump. Again, are you kidding me? And his failures are quite evenly distributed across the whole course, at times when you could auto-jump. He fell on a total of 34 jumps, visual and non-visual. 24 of these falls are due to aim, and 10 are due to timing. In MCC 10, Dream suddenly gets an accuracy of 90%, and his failures are distributed very unequally, with a run-off at a time when you can't hack, 3 early jumps at a time where you can't hack, and only 1 other early jump at a time where you could hack, but jumping early makes sense and is advantageous here. He fell on a total of 22 jumps, and 21 were due to aim, only 1 was due to timing. And that was the trapdoor section fall. And then to top it all off, somehow in MCC 11, he gets a perfect run of 100% of non-visual jumps. He again falls on a total of 22 jumps, 19 of which were due to aim and only 2 due to timing. The second one is just after the wall jump, but keep in mind, this jump was a visual jump, meaning it should be relatively easy for most good parkourists. The first failed jump though was an interesting one where he jumped too early and fell short. And remember, auto jump does not stop you from jumping early. But honestly, I'm not entirely sure why he decided to jump manually here. But we know that this was most likely what happened, because the next time he attempts it, we actually hear him press space.
That first jump is just weird. It's just weird.
But we don't hear him unpress space. It sounds like he's pressing and holding, and that way, when he lands, he can immediately jump and start the next jump faster. And for one of the jumps, he seems to fall due to not having enough momentum. And now, in his modern handcam video, he gets an accuracy of 80%, even though he openly cherry-picked this run out of multiple attempts. He failed a total of only 15 jumps. So yeah, he definitely has improved with his aim overall, and his run here is much cleaner and faster than all of his runs in MCC, but he still failed 9 to aim and 6 to timing, falling 3 different times on the salmon ladders. I also looked at an absolutely exceptional run from his handcam stream, where he got 90% accuracy. While his long-running average was about 83%, every now and then you expect to see an incredible run like this one. Especially when we consider the fact that by this point, he had been streaming for 40 minutes, so he was definitely in the zone. So he did just as good as he did in MCC 10. Oh, so does that mean that MCC 10 might not be cheated? Well, have a look at the distribution of mistakes. Again, it's very evenly distributed. He falls a total of 12 times, and 6 are to aim, and 6 to timing. When you look at the distributions of these mistakes, what do you see? In MCC 9 and the handcam footage, we see an even spread of mistakes and lower non-visual scores. The signature of a legitimate player who is pretty decent at parkour, but not even close to the level of top professionals. In MCC 10 and 11, however, we see basically no timing mistakes at superhuman levels of accuracy, but still a huge amount of failures due to aim. And when we do see failed timings, they aren't evenly distributed at all. They're clustered around parts of the map where you can't cheat, and when you'd still reasonably see early jumps even if you were hacking. This is the exact pattern of a cheater, through and through. But an important question to ask is why? Why would Dream cheat? And I can tell you that again and again, based on his other behavior that I've seen, I think it's to boost his reputation. He wants to be seen as the best Minecraft player in everything, the best speedrunner, the best PvPer, and the best parkourist. And don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with that. Striving to be the best is a wonderful thing. But what's important is the order of priorities. Because the moment that you start prioritizing being seen as the best over honesty, it leads to lying, hiding, and keeping secrets. And once it overtakes fairness and justice, it leads to cheating. I think Dream cheated in parkour, and he did so to boost his own reputation. He has refused to admit to cheating because he doesn't want to tarnish it. This evidence has led me to believe that Dream cares a lot more about his reputation than he does about the competitive integrity of the parkour community. And because Dream has never admitted to intentionally cheating, in the eyes of many of his fans, every accuser is just trying to defame him and is jealous of his glory and is doing so for clout and attention. This has resulted in many Dream fans attacking people who have accused Dream of cheating over the years, even though many of them were only doing so for moderation and competitive integrity. One of the most notable cases of this was during the speedrunning cheating accusations. His fans harassed the speedrun.com moderators for invalidating his run. And now look here. This is a real comment I received on my last video. This person with a Dream profile picture uses derogatory language towards us, calls Dream a god compared to us, and tells us to get over it. But to be clear, Dream himself told me that his fans don't speak for him, and that sometimes they do stupid things he doesn't agree with, and he has to come in and clarify that he wasn't even the one who said things, it was his fans. But it still goes to show the kind of effect he's had on people, and the reputation he's built up for himself. And he is now widely considered the largest Minecraft YouTuber in the world. Well, I think Dream has become a lot more humble and understanding over the years, stating,
I know there's a lot of parkour players and like parkour professionals that think that I suck. I'm sure that I do, to like today's standards.
And also treating me respectfully and kindly and commending me for my development of MCV. I unfortunately still think he would be willing to do whatever it takes in order to defend his reputation, including lying and making up nonsensical explanations that don't prove anything, and given his initial response was denial, I think he locked himself into trying to defend himself. Because if he admitted it now, it would show everyone that he was lying from the start, which would have profound consequences for his reputation and make people start to believe in other accusations and stop trusting him. It's also worth noting that for two of his other accusations, he originally denied the claims, and then once the evidence was so strong that he couldn't deny it anymore, he switched to shifting the blame and claiming that things weren't his fault, and that he was just the unfortunate victim of the whole situation. But this case is different. There's nowhere to shift the blame. You can't just accidentally use auto jump hacks. You have to intentionally try to walk off of the edge of each block without pressing space, and also turn it off for certain sections. There is no way to admit to using auto jump without admitting that it was intentional, showing he intentionally cheated in an official event and then publicly lied about it when questioned, including to me and Carl's face on call. Since I know you'll probably be watching this stream, we have a message for you. And I am not alone in this sentiment. If you want to redeem yourself, you either have to somehow magically prove us all wrong, or apologize and admit to everything in full. And that doesn't just mean the parkour. And not by shifting the blame, or by playing the victim, or acting like it's justified. We want a genuine apology and assurance that it won't happen again outside of your own private videos unless you receive explicit permission and are transparent about it. Sure, you can explain why you did things, but please don't act like just because you had reasons that might have felt right in your head that they actually were right and it's completely justified and okay. You need to admit that you cheated on purpose, denounce the parts of your reputation that were gained illegitimately, as well as apologize to all the people who have been harassed by your fans because of your unwillingness to admit anything for so long. Especially Sandwich Lord, the former world record holder for the MCC11 parkour course, who was put under a lot of fire for being one of the main initial people to call you out on this. Sandwich Lord has been afraid to say anything further due to fear of receiving threats. A lot of people have attacked him and called him a clout chaser doing it for views, even though he put it on his second channel and he didn't want too much attention. You might not have heard of him until this whole drama, but he is well known in the parkour community, and Dream definitely knew of him before this whole thing. In one of Dream's live streams, Sapnap says this.
I wonder how many hours Sandwich Lord put into it, where he got that time.
So these accusations are coming from someone who knows what they're talking about and is almost certainly better than Dream at parkour. Even many of the people that were originally defending you have changed their mind. Carl Jobst originally sided with you as a friend, and you even referenced him when trying to prove your innocence about the speedrunning drop rate allegations.
Carl Jobst, a very well-respected YouTuber that also investigates speedruns, made a video going into all the details, but here's his short conclusion that backs up what I'm saying from after his thorough investigation.
In conjunction with all of the evidence I've seen, I believe the essence of what Dream was claiming in his paste bin was probably true. Was it intentional? And I do believe that it probably wasn't.
Now even he has to say that the evidence is so strong he can't believe your innocence anymore, even though you had a call with him.
From what I see, we have two undeniable instances of Dream modding his game to gain an advantage in late 2020. One of them he already admitted to, and the other one he still denies for some reason. So, does this change my opinion regarding his 2020 speedruns? Do I now think it wasn't an accident? Unfortunately, yes, this does change my opinion. And it really sucks for me to say. On a personal level, I like Dream. I've spoken with him many times, so it's extremely unpleasant for me to have to say that I think he intentionally cheated. But if this were anyone else with the same evidence, I would say the exact same thing without hesitation.
And a lot of people were just barely believing you that the speedrunning loot mod was an accident. And now, given all the parkour stuff happened within the same time period, they're simply not buying it anymore. And after all of the evidence I just provided, I don't know how any rational person can believe that all of this just somehow randomly happened through sheer luck and random mistakes. Every time you were meant to jump, but didn't. Every time you weren't meant to jump, but did. Every tick-perfect jump after tick-perfect jump for hours on end. I don't see how that adds up. And I'm someone that grew up watching and loving Manhunt, getting excited about it, and playing it with my best friend. And I've been getting a lot of backlash for admitting that, but it's true. A lot of people can agree that he makes entertaining videos and has come up with a lot of amazing ideas and has made incredible things, cheater or not. He even told me about an old project using a locally running LLM to act as a virtual assistant, like Siri, so you could go, "Hey Steve, summon a zombie with no AI." I mean, that's awesome. Dream has always been such an incredible Minecraft innovator, and that's why I'm so disappointed to see all of this. This is not from a place of hate or wanting to see anything bad happen to him. It just feels like what happens when a parent finds out what their child has done. Angry, sure, but just wanting to see an apology and for this to never happen again. It just makes me wonder where it all went wrong. When did reputation become the most important thing? And his recent silence speaks 1,000 words. It looks the same as last time. He hasn't even responded publicly to Carl's video or addressed the aimbot allegations. Last time he delayed his response for 6 months before admitting to anything. Why would he delay for so long? And I think it was to wait for things to calm down and be less heated, to try to have people forget about it. And now he's gone quiet again. I mean, come on, Dream, that is not gonna work this time. It is not a good move. This is not all just gonna go away if you pretend it doesn't exist. The longer you wait, the more damage you do, and the more guilty you look. If you want to fix things and make them right, now is the time to do so. Because you should know, at this point, you kind of have to respond. Not in 6 months, not in 10 business days, but as soon as you can. A lot of people, me included, are willing to forgive you if you do so. A lot of people aren't, but do we really blame them? So please, put your reputation second for once and end this, because I know you don't want this to continue. I know you probably just want to move on and have fun with your friends and do amazing things, and so many of us want that too. Prove to us that the people that think you'll never change are wrong, and put this whole nightmare behind you and return to dream.
Thank you.
Well, okay, the rest of this video will be some FAQ about my last video. You all had a lot of questions, so feel free to skim through them and only look at the questions you're interested in. But first, I have a few important things I want to say. If you're a drama YouTuber, or one of the YouTubers that competed in MCC, or someone from Nox Crew, or someone relevant to the situation, feel free to contact me. If Dream found me, I'm sure you can find me. Or if you know anybody like that and have contact with them, then I encourage you to please share this video with them. It took like 11 days to make this video, 8 days to write the script, and 4 days to edit it. 1 day where I did a bit of both. If you appreciate all the work I've put into this and would like to support me, I have a PayPal, and on my website you can also donate, and that's through Stripe. And I also want to thank all the parkourists that helped collect this data and make the video. I gathered a team of 9 people who helped me make this video. While most of them want to remain anonymous, I want to shout out to Kern, the parkourist who collected so much of this data and has been a massive help, and Papaya Man, I guess, who helped as our critic. Alright, let's dive into some FAQ.
Your maths being off because players are not 2 blocks tall.
Yeah, you're less than 2 blocks tall. You're like 1.8 blocks.
Yeah, you are.
So some people were asking, wouldn't that mean you can jump before the last tick? So I asked, and some parkourists, I think it was Kern, said that no, actually, you move so far up in the first tick that you already hit your head, like just 1 tick later.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter about the height because you move so fast in the first tick that you reach that distance anyway. Yeah.
Yes. So that's why it does have to be tick perfect.
Yeah, Coyote Time. Yeah, so a lot of the games are designed to walk off.
Yeah, so there's platformer games that have it so that you can have what they call Coyote Time, which is where you get extra time after you walk off, where you can still jump.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But Minecraft is just it's a quirk in mechanics that allows you to jump. It's not intentional.
So it processes vertical motion first, then does the on-ground check in that, and then horizontal. No, I think it's in cubic meter videos too, because like I remember hearing this when he was building the orbital strike. Like he had a video explaining the orbital strike cannon. You have your vertical motion, then it checks your on-ground, then you have your horizontal motion, so then you go out into the void, and you're floating midair, but you're still considered on-ground. Like you have a Boolean flag on-ground, and that's still true. So as long as that's true, you're still allowed to jump, because you can jump when you're on the ground, obviously. So that's where that comes from. And I knew about Coyote Time before I made the video. Like, I looked it up. But I just thought it didn't really count, so I didn't call it that. Because, it's like a different reason. It's a bug more like... it's more like a quirk than a feature that they intentionally added. Can you use the timer as a visual cue? I actually looked at this when I was developing MCV. And the answer is no. I have no clue why, but the timer, like the countdown, is not tick aligned at all, so it does not count as a valid visual cue. Yeah, and you wouldn't even stare at the clock anyway, and it would only give you a visual cue every 1 second, so it wouldn't be very useful anyway.
Alright, on to more important things that you should probably mention, other than getting absolutely smashed just then. The reaction time section that you removed from the video.
Yes. I originally
was lucky trash. I lucky don't know why that was in the video. But...
You never even saw it, did you?
I think I did. I think I did.
But yeah, I originally used some clips which were like a reaction time where you have to make a decision. Like, it's very different from just looking at a light change color and then pressing a button when the light changes color, because you still got to like think about it and mentally process it. So the examples I used weren't the fairest in that regard. And I originally, I kind of did know this was a factor, but I just thought there's only one response. Like, you're making a jump, you turn to the correct spot, but I guess there is still mental processing, even if there's one logical correct answer. But yeah, in the call with Dream, I asked him about reaction time, and he said, I asked him if he would do a test first. He was like, well, it was like a long time ago, I'm sure it's changed now, it's probably not good to do it now, but he said he thinks he has the reaction time of just an average gamer, nothing crazy, and that he remembers that he did a test a while ago, and he thinks it might have been 130 to 190 milliseconds, but he isn't completely sure. A lot of people are going to ask, why didn't you record the call? And that's because Dream asked me not to. He said it was because he wanted to have a chat more casually and not have to think too hard about everything because it was being recorded. And yeah, I get that. I think that's fair. And yeah, Dream was the one that reached out to me, and he called me so fast I didn't even have much time to react anyway, so I couldn't have really recorded it.
Well, I mean, do people still care about Dream? But yes, he does, dude. His videos are still going crazy.
Yeah, especially with like the revival series, the Manhunt revival.
Yeah,
People kept, like, I keep seeing so many comments. One of them I saw this morning was like, oh, Dream, I haven't heard that name in a while. Or, is Dream still relevant? Like, oh, you guys still talking about Dream? I was like, what?
Act different. Like, come on, dude.
Bruh. He's still pulling millions of views. It's I don't know, it's weird to see so many people saying that. They think he's dead, but like, no, he's still doing okay.
The original one I asked was, I just sort of like, what do you think? I guess, what do you think of Dream now? Like, is he a bad person? That sort of thing.
Yeah, we'll probably still watch the Manhunts. I mean,
dude, I can't lie. I know I speak for myself. Well, I mean, I don't speak for the majority when I say that the Manhunts are still so entertaining, dude. I can't lie. Like, they're still so entertaining, even though I'm, even with the knowledge of all the things that goes on with them.
It was, I don't think he's like a bad guy. It's a block game at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I don't think he deserves any punishment or anything. I don't think it's like, I don't know, I don't really think, he was kind to me, he was fully respectful, and just chatted casually with me, and he wasn't threatening or mean or bribe me or anything. He was just here to answer questions, so I don't know, I don't want to think he's a bad guy. I don't think he's a bad guy, but and I also don't believe in the aimbotting in the Techno Duel, because that's another popular thing. Did Dream stage the drama for attention? What? This all happened 5 years ago. Like, if he staged it for attention, he would have revealed it to us and, like, brought up the drama, not, like, 5 years later. He would have brought it up, like, a few weeks later. It doesn't make any sense. I asked, like, what were the signs that we would have known from the start that it was, that the Sixth Hunter was going to be Captain Puffy? And he said there was a colorblind filter. And, well, I knew about there was binary and in, like, coal and iron ore in the short, like, in a pattern, and it made the letter C. But, crazily, I went on Corsi's channel, that guy, that got absolutely destroyed by his comments and dislikes, but he saw both of those, and he actually predicted it, and we were chatting about, he predicted it was going to be Captain Puffy from that, but everyone was saying, oh, it's Skeppy in the comments, and you're wrong, but he turned out to be right all along. But he started believing them because everyone was saying that. And I asked him about Skeppy, and he said it was just a red herring. Like,
yeah, right.
Because Skeppy turns green in, like, all of them when it's flashing through these glitchy things, and they had all these other, like, trying to make it reference. But it was just from the first short. Just, that's all you needed. Name starts with C and colorblind, and you already would have known it was Captain Puffy.
Huh. First of all, what the heck are those stupid controls, dude? Why? And wait,
you're doing that one first.
Yeah, I'll do that one first. Because you changed them at some point, didn't you? They weren't as bad.
Yes,
they're not as bad as they used to be.
Yes, they used to be. I used to have crouch as D.
What?
I used to have crouch as D. I came up with it when I was like 9. The reasoning behind like WAXD here now is the same what it was when I came up with it, and that's just that sprint is S. And the benefit of that is I can just mash W and S together, and it's just, I can sprint really easily. Some people are saying toggle sprint, but like, nah.
Or just use a different... I know one sprint key that's really common is R. I remember I tried that back in the day, yeah.
That sounds really... I mean, I guess that works. Like, you got your index finger for R. Oh, wait, no, but you got it on strafe right. Like, what do you do then? How do you strafe right?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. That's why I like having sprint on V, because I have my full range of movement still.
Yeah, but it's weird, like, rocking your thumb back and forth between V and space.
Yeah, I guess I'm just so used to it.
Wait, what's the default? I think the default is control, which I mean is not too bad. And I mean, that's what I use for crouching, because it's just, you can just whack your palm down, right? But it just gets awkward having to constantly... I mean, no, I don't mind it. Like, when I'm here, I'm crouch bridging, right? So I hold control when I'm, like, when I'm crouch bridging, and that's fine. So I guess control's fine for crouch. Shift for crouch, though, I just think would be a nightmare, though, honestly, because, like, you gotta have your pinky out, and then you can't strafe while crouching, and sometimes I strafe while crouching, like, all the time when I'm bridging. Like, you want to do this kind of stuff here, where you're going at an angle. What would you even do for crouch? What do you have for crouch, actually?
For crouch, shift.
You do have shift.
Yeah.
But you can't...
Shift works well.
But what about... What about
what do you mean?
strafing left while crouching?
Yeah. W, middle finger on W, ring finger on A, pinky on shift.
Wait. Your middle finger's on W.
Yeah. What is your... Wait, what finger of yours is on W?
Ring finger.
What?
Pinky presses
Dude,
A.
you're
Middle finger
kidding me.
presses S for sprint, and then moves back to X for...
Oh my
no, actually,
days,
to go
dude.
back, index finger presses X. Index for X, and also for D. Yeah.
Dude, oh my goodness.
You know what Dream told me in the call? He said he used to use index finger for W. He used to use
Wow, dude,
index
that's
finger.
crazy.
But now he uses...
That's
Yeah. Now he
crazy.
uses caps lock for strafe left, which is kind of cursed. Because it just
Yeah,
feels
that
like
is
you
weird.
shouldn't be allowed to do it.
Yeah. Why the heck were you looking down in that? Was that the bed wars practice?
Yeah, it was in the parkour in the first section in the video about the tick
You're like
mechanics and
looking
stuff.
all the way down in the video, and it was really
Yeah.
odd.
Yeah, I mean, I'll have footage I can play in the background now. With I wasn't going to memorize that entire script, so I just plastered it on my screen, and then I was just doing the parkour, reading off that. And for some reason, I just found, like, it was above my cursor. Yeah, but I just found it easier to look down while I was doing that, because I had my script and I was reading off it. Yeah, at the end, I look up too fast, and my cursor goes on top of the window, and you see my cursor appear for a second, and I, like, and I had to, like, put it back down onto the game.
Yes. I won. Okay, speaking of
You don't need segues, just come on. You're not going to come up with a good... Okay, come up with
No,
a good
no,
segue.
look.
Okay, try it.
Let me cook. Let me cook. Speaking of Craft Punk 4000 winning, another thing that starts with C is csTimer. So, you're a cuber?
Yeah. This guy here got me into cubing in... Actually...
Way back in...
Well,
was it primary school? No.
well, you know, in year 6, you were cubing, right? With
Yeah,
Caleb,
I was.
With Caleb,
I taught Caleb. Oh yeah, he did learn too. I taught Ryder in like year 5 or 6 too.
Oh yeah. And then I just had one lying around, like I think just a really terrible Rubik's brand one or something. And
Yeah.
I don't know. One day I just saw it. I think I was just moving stuff, and I just saw it on the shelf, and I picked it up. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna learn it. So yeah, you only ever learnt beginner's method and got like 32 seconds or something as your record. But then I don't know, just for like a few for like 2 weeks or something, I grinded and I learnt beginners, then I got 2 minutes, then I got 1, and then I started getting my first sub-minute, then I started learning basic CFOP, then eventually, after a lot of work, I learnt all 21 PLL algorithms, which takes some time, and then I know like half of OLL now, and then I've kind of stopped learning. I competed in WCA, Melbourne Silver 2025, and I got a time of 17 seconds. You can look that up. But I also, yeah, so I'm a cuber. I have I had a Tornado V3, which broke a while ago, and I don't have that well, I have it.
And
It's
you
just
lubed
in
with
pieces.
vegetable oil, didn't you?
Oh, olive oil. I used to lubricate my cube with olive
Dude,
oil.
I cannot believe you did that. That was ridiculous. That's so disgusting.
It was, yeah. And then I got proper lube for it, which was a lot better.
That is so silly, man. All right. Enough of this
cubing?
cube. Yeah, there's one more thing. Just being cracked at Desmos.
Oh, yes. So people were saying, how are you this good at Desmos? And it's because I've been making Desmos graphs for like 3 years.
Yeah.
I have probably about 100 at this point. I know when I scroll down, it says show 70 more or something, 74 or something, I don't know, something. But yeah, I have so many graphs. I've made a 3D cube in Desmos. I've made, oh no, I'd have to dedicate an entire video just going through my Desmos graphs if I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
There's so many, but yeah, it's just, I love Desmos. It's an amazing graphing calculator. It took me an entire day to make the one I used in the video, the like parkour tick mechanics graph. I just spent a whole day grinding that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's something else I was going to say as well. What was I going to mention? Oh yeah, should really give some content. Well, I mean, not this that important, but for any aspiring playing games during school people, Liz, yes. Ultimate hack is using the left and right. Like if your scroll wheel can move left and right and have like a click, then you code it like auto hotkey.
But you can just just learn auto hotkey. It's like not even that hard.
No, it's so good.
You can make a script which when you press your left and right mouse buttons, it just switches between your desktops. And then
So you have one game on one desktop, your schoolwork on the other desktop, and because it's so discreet, as long as you just keep your hands on your mouse.
No one
And
knows.
this is assuming you use a mouse as well. Yeah, you can just switch between desktops, like
there's
just
also-
with this minute movement of the scroll wheel.
There's
and
a
it's just
way
so
to
good.
there's a way to disable the Windows animation, because normally you have this whole animation. If they see that, you're
yeah.
cooked. But if you go, wait, hold on, just play. You gotta press Windows and you
Adjust. It's adjust the appearance.
Adjust the appearance and performance of Windows, and then you got to disable animations in the taskbar. Just set it up like this, and then if you set it up like this, then when you switch desktops, boom, it's instant. And then if you have an AutoHotkey script to automate the switching of desktops, there's a really nice manager. Someone made a AutoHotkey desktop manager that can actually keep track of how many desktops you have and go to specific ones. Or you could just simulate the key press. You just do send. You just send the key press. Yeah, and you just seamlessly get to switch between desktops. And then
I
did this all throughout high school.
I had one time where I was sitting in class playing a game or something, YouTube or whatever. And they're the tech guy of my school came in, and he we low-key ops. We were chill, but he knew I was always up to something. And he walked over unsuspectingly and just jokingly quickly dashed his head around to look at my screen. But because I had my mouse on my hand on my mouse, I so subtly switched back to my work. He had no idea. Literally within half a second of him jumping around to look at it, I switched and he had no clue. I was like, look, I don't know, man. I'm just doing my work. It was so funny.
That's so good. I even took it a step further because some people knew about switching desktops.
The fake desktop.
I made it so if you press Windows Tab, it rebinds it to it opens up a screenshot of a no desktops. It says create new desktop. I didn't even got any. And one time in a Chinese class or something, the teacher came in, they pressed Windows Tab, and they saw the fake thing. I was like, oh, you haven't got any desktops. And they believed it. And then I had a hotkey for the real one. Oh man, this stuff is so fun. You gotta tell the story of the stop watching YouTube.
Stop watching YouTube? What? What the heck is stop watching YouTube?
User was shut down for watching YouTube. That one!
This is quite... Well, it involves speaking about my exploit.
No, we don't have to say how it works though.
Yeah, okay, so I figured out how to... What did I do? I figured out how to access the file system of other laptops because of the really bad security. It's a long story, but there's this class and there's this kid that in his class would just sit in the corner and watch YouTube. And look, we were just talking about playing games in class, so I'm not throwing too much shade on him. But he just did nothing. And the teacher would come over and he'd lie and be like, oh no, I'm doing my work. And so... one time I mocked up a little script and I somehow figured out how to run commands or open a script or something. I could open a shell on someone else's computer. I don't know how I figured that out. I forget now. It was a long time ago, but yeah, I did that. And first what I did is set up because he had earbuds in when watching YouTube. And so I Googled whatever and figured out how to make audio play through, force audio to play through the speakers, even though he had earbuds in. and so I did that in class, and it just said this is one of those classes that the teacher talks for a bit and then everyone just goes silent and does their work. So the whole class was dead silent, and his YouTube video just started playing through the speakers. But I quickly disabled it, so he's just like what the heck? He's so confused. And then I did the shutdown /I, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I remotely shut down his laptop and did this message that was it was really quite convincing. It was something
error user
was detected accessing prohibited website, reason YouTube or something like this.
Yeah.
And so shut down his laptop and showed that. And then he was like, wait a second. And we were in our class was technology, computing and stuff. And so he figured, I'll go ask the teacher. So he went to the teacher and it was he showed him this message just straight up snitching on himself for watching YouTube in class. And it was so funny. The teacher's just were you watching YouTube? And the guy's like, yeah. Oh, it was so funny. He probably suspected I was behind it or something, but it was so hilarious. Anyway, dude, I figured out that story. That was so funny. And I'd like to say never watch YouTube again, but It didn't change anything.
Dude.
It was just for my own entertainment. Like I say, I was watching YouTube, this and that, but look, I just wanted to troll this guy.
If we did more of this, do you think people will watch it? Like, we just hang out and just chat. I don't know. Some people might like this.
I doubt it.
Yeah. Finally, I have a pretty crazy story. When I was recording the intro to the last video, someone in chat was like looking at my name and saying, "Oh, JS, is that for JavaScript?" And I told him I was just recording a video and I was going to use it for background footage. And he saw the video and commented. How crazy is that? And thank you to my investors. We have Polo Demo, Mathlo Am Demo, Real Snatch, Scapegoat, Guanlong X, and Seat 0294. Your contributions are greatly appreciated.